I want to get into the Mets first. A story came out that Noah Syndergaard will not be extending his proposal with the New York Mets. He decided to take a $25 million offer 1 year with the Angels. I am not surprised with this. Here's the problem. They were expecting Noah last year to come back and be their savior, be that other guy. The trade that they made with the Indians, bringing in another pitcher, they thought that this pitching staff was going to be the best pitching staff in baseball. Jacob deGrom couldn't last the season. Marcus Stroman started off strong, ended very weak. You look at this pitching rotation now, which was their strength, has become a weakness. Now, losing Noah Syndergaard, it's not a good sign. I listened to Steve Cohen's Money and his Riches. Nobody even wanted this GM job. The thought right now, just like with the Knicks, with Dolan, Cohen is going to have to over-exude his money to players that want to come and play here because they don't want to play here, because they don't want to play for Steve Cohen. They might not want to play for this management. They bring in this guy, Eppler. He worked for the Yankees for 10 years. He was a part of that Yankee dynasty. And then he went to the Angels. He was a big part of the Ohtani signing. I don't know if this was a great pick for the New York Mets, but nobody else wanted the job. Hopefully he stays away from texting people and going out drinking.
I'm not a huge fan of it. There are positives. He spent money with the Angels, so the Mets are all in now at being a big market team. Now, if Steve Cohen starts doing James Dolan things and overpaying Joakim Noah, yeah, then there's going to be a problem. The Angels, a lot of bad signings between Josh Hamilton and C.J. Wilson, Albert Pujols giving him the big contract that didn't work out. There are a lot of downsides to it. They haven't been able to build a farm system around Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. It's really hindered the Angels. They only have one playoff appearance in the past decade. In terms of Eppler, hopefully he doesn't make a lot of those same mistakes that he did with the Angels, but it does prove that between him and Cohen, that the Mets will be more willing to spend money. Will they make smart contracts? That's the question. And in terms of Syndergaard, I wouldn't have given him that money. I don't mind losing him for $25 million. I wouldn't have given him that kind of money. He still has to prove it a lot off of all these injuries that he's had. And even just his development as a pitcher. He has good stuff and he doesn't use it a lot of the time. All these pitches that he just relies on his velocity too much. So I don't think he really grew as the pitcher and he hasn't taken that next step. So I don't mind them getting rid of him. I'd rather get them more in quantity. Brasco was hurt. Then they had to rely on Tyler McGill and David Peterson, who was down last year. The Mets might need two guys that are maybe average or like just veteran guys that are solid rather than try to get one flashy guy, especially with the bullpen struggling with depth. That might be more necessary, especially if DeGrom doesn't come back the same. And obviously he might not come back the same like he did last year. He was on a historic pace, but if he even regresses to where he's only a top 10 pitcher instead of the best in baseball, which he has been the last 3 years. So there are some things that are promising with Eppler, not what I would have done. Again, the Mets really don't have a choice at this point. They're limited options, but I'm not crazy about it.
Omar Minaya would have been my pick. I know Omar Minaya has been in this position with the Mets before. I know Sandy Alderson is not a big fan of Omar Minaya. Omar Minaya knows how to draft. Omar Minaya knows how to find talent. He was a good GM for the Mets. I think he weighed out his welcome with the New York Mets. They didn't even interview him. I think the Mets really dropped the ball on this because nobody else wanted the job. How many ex-Yankee executives did they talk to from other different teams? They asked a lady who was working for the Yankees for 15 years. Women are now becoming GMs. As you saw, Derek Jeter brought in a GM with the Marlins. Now you're seeing women get jobs at these prominent positions. She came from the Yankees. There was another woman. They offered her the job.
Yeah, from the Red Sox.
She didn't want the job. I think when you look at the position for the Mets, I don't know what this team is. To me, Steve Cohen needs to really open up his pockets this offseason because there's no way he's going to be able to bring Javier Baez back without paying him. You bring in Eppler, out of all the GMs, 30 GMs, if the agents have not seen all this happen for the New York Mets, they don't even know who their coach is going to be, their manager is going to be.
Please no Brad Ausmus.
The best way to move on this is probably Buck Showalter right now.
I want Mike Schilt.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. The two names that have popped out is Ausmus and Buck Showalter. So if you're going to hire somebody, hire Buck. Buck knows how to develop players. We've seen him do it with Baltimore. He's weighed out his welcome everywhere he's gone, but maybe wins a World Series. He hasn't won a World Series anywhere else he went. He went to Texas, built that team, walked away, and that team went all the way to the World Series twice. I think Buck knows how to station and build teams. He did it with the Yankees. I think Buck would be a good fit over there. He's a good baseball mind. He's a veteran, and I think he can get the best out of these young players. Do not go after Ausmus. It will set their team back because I just don't see this team being as competitive with Ausmus than Buck Showalter.
For all the Mets fans that don't know the talent that Brad Ausmus got to coach, let's start with Detroit. They had at one point Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez, Cabrera, Prince Fielder. Then after they traded Prince Fielder, Ian Kinsler, Austin Jackson, Johnny Peralta. And then go to the Angels where you get to Albert Pujols, Mike Trout. That guy couldn't get anywhere close to the playoffs? That's the guy that's a finalist to be a manager? Please, no.
I think Buck's going to win the job. I think it's smart. You bring in Eppler, work with the Yankees. He has his ties with Buck Showalter. I think the best move for him to do is to bring in Buck. Let Buck run this team. I think Buck will do a great job for the Mets. I think he'll get him in the playoffs next year. We've seen him do this, especially teams that are ready to go. This has become a Yankees organization.
That's the one upside I can hope for with Eppler. Maybe he took some good tips from the Yankees because they know how to develop players well, find gems, create a consistent winner. So hopefully the Yankee side of Eppler comes out more than the Angels.
No, definitely. As far as the Yankees are concerned, a lot of Yankee fans are sweating. Verlander is gone, but they weren't going to give him $25 million.
No. I think the only teams that would have are the Astros and his former team, the Tigers, I heard were huge on him too.
I think Freeman, I think they need to look at bullpen help. I think there's still a lot of good bullpen arms available, and I think they really need to bring in at least 2 or 3 of them starting pitching. They have Severino for a full season coming back. Cole obviously was a Cy Young candidate this year. Second half was horrible. Hopefully that changes.
It was really just the last month was horrible, and that really set it back because him and Ray were really close, neck and neck, until the last month.
I mean, I've been hearing that they have ties with Ray, and Rob Ray could be a guy that the Yankees could be interested in bringing in. That's not bad. Ray with Cole, Severino, and some of the young pitchers that they have over there, I mean, that could solidify their pitching staff. I don't know if the Yankees are going to go out and spend a lot of money. Ray won the Cy Young this year.
Yeah, he's going to want a lot.
He's going to want a lot of money.
The Blue Jays just gave Barrios his contract, so we'll see if they do it with Ray, too.
No, they're not re-signing Ray. Barrios was the guy. They made the trade for Barrios because they knew they weren't going to be able to re-sign Ray. And Ray is going to want a lot of money. You're talking about probably between $150 and $180 million. Are the Yankees willing to pay him? Are they willing to solidify that pitching staff? If you bring in Rob Ray, you probably do have the best pitching staff in the American League.
Yeah, I like that move for the Yankees, too, because he's always been a good strikeout pitcher, and you need those types of pitchers in Yankee Stadium. And across so many American League East bandboxes, you're going to need that type of pitcher. Now, is he going to have that kind of Cy Young year again? Probably not.
No.
But
14, 15 wins
he's always been a steady mid-low 3 ERA guy and a lot of strikeouts. And again, he's a little streaky throughout his career. He's been bumped around so many different teams with Detroit and Arizona. And I think that kind of pitcher is exactly what the Yankees need. And being that he's older, 30-something years old, he's not going to cost a lot. You only have to give him probably a 3-year deal. He's probably going to want to max out, maybe a 4-year deal because it's his last.
Oh, if they only have to sign him 3-4 years, they give him. You pay him $100 million.
Sure.
He really played very well here in the American League. He's been in the American League East. Hey, listen, if the Yankees could get him for $100 million or $85 million or $90 million, I would make that move. As far as Freeman is concerned, I'm very surprised the Braves haven't re-signed him. The season just ended, but you know there are teams going to be after him. And if a team can persuade him to go to another team, he's going to leave. So knowing that he is your centerpiece of your team, and he really is, fairly young player, he's 29 years old, he still's got a lot of baseball left. He hits for average. He's a Gold Glove winner. He's an all-world player, Silver Slugger. And the guy could do everything. Why would you let this guy get on the market and where you're dangling him around? The Yankees really like him. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees gave him a contract. Now, he's going to be expecting, being that he's 29, I would say close to $200 million, maybe a little bit less because of the market, maybe 170.
Yeah, I think if he does that, he'll probably stay with the Braves in that case.
Yeah, I think with the Yankees, I think the only team he'd play for besides the Braves is the Yankees. Going to the Yankees, it's pinstripes, it's the New York Yankees, just the star-strucking place to play. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees gave him enough money, him go to the Yankees and say, you know what, I'll just go play for the Yankees. Mark Teixeira, nobody thought Mark Teixeira was going to leave the Texas Rangers. But being that he was getting almost $180 million, why stay there?
He was traded there to the Braves, too, but then he could have gone back.
That's right. I forgot he went to the Braves in the middle of the season.
Trade deadline, yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that. And he did very well for the Braves. And by the way, he was a Braves fan growing up. A lot of people thought he was going to re-sign with the Braves. They weren't going to pay him $170, $180 million, whatever the Yankees gave him. They definitely overpaid him. And I know it because the Red Sox were very interested. But I know they have a first baseman right now that's sitting and waiting. I know he wants to be in pinstripes. Anthony Rizzo has been waiting very patiently for the Yankees to extend him. I think he'd take a 2-year deal with the Yankees. I think he wants to stay in pinstripes, but I think the Yankees might want to upgrade the position. The only way you can upgrade that position is really Freeman. Rizzo is a great defender, good offensive player, questioning what the Yankees are going to do with it, but it's going to be a very interesting offseason, especially being that the
winter meetings,
December
6th.
Expect a couple of things to be done. I think the Yankees might make a couple of small moves. I don't expect the big moves to happen until after Christmas. We'll see probably around January.
That's the way free agency's always been with baseball the last 5 years. So
maybe it'll change this year. Who knows?